Hello and welcome into another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. And we have a happy panel today. We have two Interisti and a Laziale. I'm going to introduce, before we bring in our special guest, Nick Costa, let me introduce my co-host, Jerry Mancini. And Jerry, I'm going to let you take the victory lap for what was an excellent performance in Lazio getting a much-needed win, 2-0 against Napoli. But I'm going to give myself at least some of the credit. Jerry, you know what had been going on behind the scenes with me and Lazio. Recently, I had begun, for reasons that are hard to explain, betting on Lazio to win pretty much every match they've played, like 4 or 5 in a row. And I think I picked up this habit because I'm so superstitious that I stopped betting on Inter. And Inter have won 6 consecutive league games since I stopped betting on them. So we know what's going on there. But I had been mushing Lazio because every time I wagered on Lazio to win, they were either drawing or losing. And so today I thought, let me capitalize on Lazio just being in the mud and let me bet on Napoli. And, of course, I bet on Napoli, and then Ciro Immobile gets a beautiful goal from a header off a Maricic cross, climbed the ladder for it. Even Luis Alberto scored today, and he's been like barely in the squad for the last few weeks. So, Jerry Mancini, Jerry, very important for Lazio given the slide that they had been in the league lately, back into 8th place with this win against a really tough Napoli side. So you've got to be feeling good today.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't say it was a pure dominant performance from Lazio. I think that what was impressive was they were able to weather the storm for, I would say, a good 40 minutes. The first 20 minutes was all Lazio, and then the game tilted into Napoli's favorite, and they really dictated the tempo and pace. But I think the biggest outcome of this game, and it continues to be Napoli's problem, is that they beat themselves in matches, and that's what they did today. In the first goal, I was watching the replays of the 2 goals, and the first one, Matteo Politano does not force Adam Maticic from making that cross. So if you really look at a guy who's an inverted winger, and all of a sudden has that much time in space to get onto his left foot. And I was impressed with the cross he did with his left foot because he's a natural right-footed player. And it's just because Maricic has so much time, and they failed to recognize that he's not a true left wing back. So they should have really pressured him more in that situation. And then the second goal, Mario Rui, I don't know what the hell he's thinking.
It's awful.
He must have been drunk on the play because he gifted a pass to Escalante. And then all of a sudden you're going in transition, you're going upfield, and the Napoli defense, everyone's out of position. No one knows their assignment. And you got right away, Escalante recognizes the play, finds Immobile. Great job again, Immobile on the play, gets it to Alberto, bang, shot right past Ospina, and that's it. That's the game basically. So the absence of Dries Mertens and Lorenzo Insigne were a big loss. I think that the game would have been much different had they been able to play today. I don't think it would be 2-0. I think it'd be 0-0 probably in the second half, or maybe Napoli has a goal first. Who knows? And in credit to Lazio for overcoming the loss of Francesco Acerbi at the last minute. Yeah. I think that Lazio really managed this very poorly. And then you got a guy, Wesley Hoot, who has really stepped up and been stellar this year. You went to the transfer market, you addressed the need of a center back. I know a lot of people still don't like him. I for one, love this guy. Personally, he works hard, he's physical, he plays a simple game. I know he got nutmegged in the early goings by, I believe, Lozano, but you got to also understand this. This is a guy who didn't prepare for this match and probably didn't know he was going to be playing today. You got Francesco Acerbi, who you think that is going to be playing throughout the course of the week. Last second, he re-aggravates his injury, which could have been prevented by not even forcing him to play today, because it proved that they didn't need him. And you would have a healthy Acerbi for Wednesday, which is now probably in doubt. And you got a guy, Wesley, who's been really stellar between Champions League and in Serie A. You put him in the middle. He's shown to be comfortable in the center position with Stefan Radu on the left and Luis Felipe on the right. I just don't like when we have the players. People say we didn't buy the right players. We got him, use him. Escalante, another perfect example. He is showing that he'll be the new Lucas Leiva for the foreseeable future. Do I think Leiva's done? No, I don't. Do I think he can play on a consistent basis? No. But again, you got two good defensive midfielders now that can change. And then these are good things that we're seeing with Lazio that we haven't seen in past seasons. So I'll cap it off with two more things. Luis Alberto, 150th appearance, he scores. Excellent. What does he do? Runs to his manager and hugs him. To me, that's the. I was gonna say in a tweet, love and joy. And my wife's like, don't say that because it's not love and joy. It's a little too extreme. But I'm gonna say it's the appreciation of what he has for his manager, his players, and his team. I just don't see this guy being sold. I know that the whole rift between Lotito and Luis Alberto, I think that his mind is with Lazio, and if he's to be sold, it will not be in the Serie A. It will be somewhere around La Liga, because he's always mentioned about going back home to play in Spain. So, and to cap it off, Ciro Immobile, this guy can score more than just scoring from the spot. Let's just get this straight. This is not a guy who can just score penalty shots. In the past 2 games, he's scored 2 miraculous goals. Miraculous. That's what I'm going to say. Impressive against Napoli today. Impressive against Benevento. This guy keeps on winning games for Lazio, and if not winning, at least drawing to get some points. So he's on fire. He's scored 11 of their past 12 games in all competition in that span. He's got 12 goals. He's got 8 goals in Serie A this year. A lot of people, including myself, I didn't think he was going to repeat and show the same kind of continuity from last year to this year, the consistency, the same level of play, especially in a condensed schedule. And he's proven me wrong and probably a lot of people wrong. And you know what? He's the backbone of this team. He's the captain now until Lulic comes back. But you know what? This can be like the game changer for Lazio. Had they lost today, I would say top 4 spot may have just been crushed. All of a sudden, you're looking 3 points out from Roma for 4th place. Roma didn't look good in the second half today, and Lazio's season may just have turned around at the right time for Christmas.
It was a huge win, and I know there's a lot of frustration among Napoli supporters having, dropped a midweek game to Inter, where they were a bit unfortunate not to get something out of that match, and then, to drop this one to Lazio. So it's been tough for them. But let me bring on a fellow Interista. This man, you know him and you love him from Inter Twitter. He's from the Philadelphia area. He's also a big hockey fan. You can hear him on the Brotherly Puck podcast. So we're all hockey fans here. Of course, Jerry's Canadian, so it's mandatory to be a hockey fan.
I didn't know you're on the Brotherly Hockey podcast, man.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, man.
Thanks for having me, Alex. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah, and let me say his name, by the way. Nick Costa is with us. Nick, welcome. How are you, man?
I'm in a great mood. Inter won both games this week. I would have been in a better mood if Milan lost, but I'm in a good holiday spirit. I'm in a good mood. It's Sunday night. I'm glad you have me on. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's our pleasure. I want to go through quick some of my notes on the Inter 2-1 victory over Spezia today, and then we'll have Nick weigh in on it. I know that Nick and I were talking before the show. He certainly saw some things the same way that I saw them, and his opinions on Conte, I know, are similar to mine. The first half, I was half asleep. Inter looked really uninspired in the attack in the first half. Everything was static. Nobody was making runs. I think really the prettiest chance, Nick, that Inter had in the first half, and we'll start with this. Ashley Young nearly did something really, really special. Created a superb chance for himself. Dribbled past 2 defenders in the box. Was at a tough angle. He put the shot just wide. I mean, that would have been a goal of the week candidate had he scored it. Lautaro also had a decent chance, missed in the first half, a header off a Brozovic free kick. So what were you thinking, Nick, at halftime? Were you thinking, oh, my God, this is going to end up being like a really ugly 0-0 draw, or did you think something inspiring would happen in the second half?
I agree. The Ashley Young play is probably the only highlight of the first half. Didn't their goalie, Spezia, his name slipped my mind, I think he got fingertips because a corner ensued.
He did. That's right. Yeah.
So that would have been a gorgeous goal. I said it to you on Twitter. Spezia kept turning the ball over and over and over again, and Inter kept just typical Inter the last few weeks is their first halves are dreary. I was expecting another Pazza Inter where it's 0-0 to the 83rd minute, but luckily they came out much stronger in the second because Gagliardini was on the bench. Coincidence? I think not. But once Gagliardini sat, the game opened up. But I was a little skeptical because Spezia they're near the middle of the table right now, right? Or maybe these couple of losses kind of dropped them, but they were playing pretty tough the first handful of games. Didn't they take points from Juve?
They did.
So
yeah, I'm looking. I had the table open, and of course it reset on me, so I can reopen it a second. But yeah, you're right. They have had kind of a tough run of form recently. Spezia, they're near the bottom now. They're 17th. So you're right. The last couple of games have not helped their cause.
I thought it was going to be a trap game. They escaped the Napoli game, and then they call it a trap game across all sports. You're facing an inferior opponent who has played tough against bigger teams this year, and luckily, once Gagliardini sat, the offense opened up.
And it's funny because our guy Jerry is a huge Gagliardini fan. I think that Jerry keeps me grounded with Gagliardini. And it's actually kind of funny because Nick looks a little bit like Gagliardini. I don't mean that as an insult to you. Doesn't he? He looks a bit like Gagliardini. So I don't mean that as an insult. You probably have better
He's
skills.
A handsome guy. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I mean, he's handsome. He's a man rocket. But his football leaves a little to be desired. He's a guy you got to use in small doses. When you keep overusing him like Conte, I bet you that's why Jerry likes him, because he sucks so bad and he holds Inter back. Yeah, that's why you like him, because when he's out there, they suck.
Well, and it was crazy because Gagliardini was really bad in the first half. I mean, I understand like what Jerry likes about him. I appreciate, and it's what Conte likes about him because his work rate is through the roof. Like the guy never lacks effort. The problem is the finished product is never there, and a lot of times it lends to, horrific misses like the open goal he had again. Is that a Gagliardini photo? It cuts off a little bit, though. You got to find the right formatting. But, you see him sometimes have horrific misses in front of goal, like the Sassuolo game last season. Or in the case of today, he just couldn't correctly place a pass. Like Gagliardini was just had no touch whatsoever today. And I mean, it wasn't just a matter of benching Gagliardini at halftime, which I'm glad Conte did. I'll give Conte partial credit for that. And I only give him partial credit because he was the guy who started Gallia in the first place. But I'll give him credit for benching Gallia. There he is. See, look, they look a lot alike, man. But it wasn't just a matter.
The same hairstyle.
The hairline is the same.
Everything is the same. Oh,
that is remarkable. Jerry, you have to remind me that when we're tweeting out this episode later, I've got to take a screenshot of that moment, like that we have Roberto Gagliardini on the pod with us today, basically. But it wasn't only a matter of getting a boost just from sitting Gallia. It was also credit to Stefano Sensi, who replaced him, who I thought we saw shades of Sensi from September and October last year, where he was super active, decisive with his passes, very creative. I mean, he was the one who played in the cross that led to the handball and the penalty to make it 2-0, which turned out to be a really, really important goal because Inter needed that one. But, Nick, if I get a little bit ahead of myself, because if we're going to break down that second half, we've got to give credit to Achraf Hakimi. And that's why, for those watching on YouTube, you can see that I have Hakimi as my background photo today, because I'm really, really happy with the way he's played recently, because I know for the first 7 or 8 match days, there was a lot of banter from opposing fans saying, look, they wasted $40 million on this guy, and he's going to be the next bust. He's going to be the next Valentino Lazaro, and, all hyped up for nothing. But he's been playing really, really well. Lautaro Martinez played a ball to him out in the channel, and Hakimi is so fast. I mean, Inter need to find a way to play more balls like that out to the right flank to Hakimi, because, he takes over with his speed, has a good first touch. He finished it. I think the goalie could probably have some regrets that he wasn't covering that near post, but it was still a magnificent goal by Hakimi. And so What have you seen, Nick? What are your takeaways about Hakimi's development? Because as I mentioned, he could be a little bit shaky at times earlier in the season, but it seems like he's really hitting a stride now.
I agree. To that first goal, that's exactly what you said. Like, I forget who gave the ball to Lautaro because I watched the entire game on my phone. Couldn't really see.
Oh yeah, it was oh man, I want to say it might have been Ashley. I think it was Ashley Young because it came from
So
the
Young
left
to
side.
Lukaku. Lukaku made a beautiful touch to Lautaro, and then Lautaro just he saw it was just one on one out there, and like you said, Hakim would be the fastest player in Serie A, and he just put it out there for him to go get it. Beautiful first touch. That defender had no chance and beats the goalie near post,
Yeah.
which was a wonderful shot. And yes, very slow start. I was thinking, here we go, another Kondogbia signing, another one of those busts. But I think maybe part of the problem was he has to adjust to Serie A. And those first couple games when every team was dealing with COVID, part of those back three was, do we curse on this podcast? Do we swear?
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Jerry and I curse like sailors.
Fuck,
All right. Fucking Kolarov back there in the back three. So when you have this, isn't Hakimi 22 years old?
Yeah.
So like
he might be younger. He might be. He might only be like 20.
Good grief. So regardless, he's still extremely young. So adjusting to playing in Serie A, adjusting to Conte's system. Fucking Kolarov is one of your defenders back there. I feel like he's gotten better. Excuse me, when with that the back three of Bastoni, De Vrij, and Skriniar have been incredible, and I feel like those three can really make up for with the wing backs before they get back. When you had Kolarov back there, who I think a 7-year-old could dribble at this rate. You're left out. You basically had two defenders, two guys back there. So I think Hakimi is adjusted. The boys seem to be utilizing him at his strength. It's just if he's out there, just send it. He's going to get there, and if he doesn't, he's still going to pressure whoever gets to the ball first.
Yeah, well said.
He's 22. You're right.
He's 22. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Man,
I tried to make him a child. I tried to shave off a couple of years onto his age, but there was he actually has set a couple of interesting records. He's now the first defender in Serie A history to score 4 goals in his first 13 appearances with the club, and he's now the youngest defender in the top 5 European leagues this year to score 4 goals. So that's good. I mean, really young guy, whether he's 20 or it turns out he's 22. That's a really, really nice start to be off of. Last thing I want to get you guys' take on with the Inter match. Now, I should say, just to set the scene, really important win given the landscape of Serie A with where Inter is in the table, because Milan won today. We'll talk a little bit more about them in a moment, scoring a record-setting goal of their own. And Juventus won Saturday, just dismantling Parma 4-0. So with Inter being 3 points in front of Juve, 1 point behind Milan, it was imperative for them to win and kind of keep pace and stay in the same spot. So that was really important. Now, Inter won the game, and it was relatively comfortable in the second half, even though they only ended up winning by 1 goal, because Spezia, Nick, scored a goal to make it 2-1. And I think, by the way, that those who bet on Inter on the spread, I want to say it was a 1.5 goal spread. So that was a bad beat if I've ever seen. And again, I stopped betting on Inter. That was a bad beat if you had Inter minus 1.5 goals, because Spezia scored on one of the final touches of the game in the final minute of stoppage time. So do you think that's the type of goal that Conte probably gave his dressing room an earful after that?
I would think so. I mean, Inter seems to be prone to the occasional brain fart to start this first quarter of the season. Thank God they had that penalty goal, because we'd all be pulling our hair out like typical Inter. Here we go, giving up a late game time goal to a shit team in the last few minutes. But was that Darmian who missed his man, who had the brain fart, or was it one of the center backs?
I think it was. That's a good question. I have to go back and watch it. I think it was Darmian on the right side, but you're right. It could have just as easily been Skriniar, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. Oh, and to double back on Lazio real quick, that second goal, can we make it like hockey and give Mario Rui the second assist to Immobile?
Yes.
Because that was awful.
That was so bad.
You could probably say that. That's a good point.
I don't think Napoli's what they used to be during like the Higuain era when everyone else was a little younger. I think that Napoli with the bite is done.
Really, eh?
I think that window's closing.
It's really tough only because of how many guys they had out. I mean, no Insigne, Mertens. They've been without Osimhen for now a few games. It certainly is a team that, lately just has not been that clinical, right? They're able to create chances, just not finish them. That's been a problem with them for a while. That's not really a new thing. I just think they have so much talent. I just think they can be kind of a streaky team, and having a guy like Rui starting for you is just horrific. But Jerry, I know we were, of course, we were all paying attention to Milan, and Milan did win again today. They held on for a 2-1 against Sassuolo. It was a well-deserved victory. And Milan scored on, I'm not going to take credit for this comparison because it was Matteo Bonetti who I saw threw this out there. They made the FIFA kickoff glitch a reality. Because you only really see that in FIFA, where a team scores like 8 seconds after the opening kickoff. I've never seen that in real life before. It was the fastest goal scored in Serie A history. It only took a few seconds for Rafael Leao to score the opening goal, and then Milan was on the front foot from that point forward. They had a goal by Çalhanoğlu disallowed. He was about a quarter of an inch offside. Salad makers, our guy scored the second goal to make it 2-0. Sassuolo did get one back very, very late, a free kick from Domenico Berardi, who makes life miserable for both of the Milanese clubs. But another win for Milan, Jerry. So what do you say? Because I know that you and I have been trash talking our guy Rui Pereira a lot in our group chat. But they dropped points in their last couple of matches with hard fought draws. This time they get back to their winning ways. Are you starting to believe that Milan can really pull this out?
For a Scudetto, I still don't think so. I think Juventus is the team and it's Juventus and Inter not having to play in Champions League. I think they'll take Coppa Italia serious. I really do, and that shouldn't really hinder their season because only 3 or 4 games they'll have to play out of that. So I personally think that Milan is going to have a hard run in the second half of the year. We don't know about Zlatan. Now he's out for another month apparently. Today I think they lost. Well, I could be wrong about that.
I know they said till
it's another couple more weeks.
Okay, maybe because I know that they said till the new year. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if that means early January or mid-January or what.
For someone who was supposed to come back in 2 weeks, I think that the injury crisis for Zlatan, it can be worrying. It can be worrying because you don't know his body, how he'll be able to recover, especially being at the age that he's at. This recovery process, we don't know the severity of his injury. So, and then you got Kessie, who's out Wednesday now, who picked up a yellow, is going to force the game on Wednesday. And I'm not sure if someone got hurt today for Milan personally. I don't think so, but I just think that this team has a lot of injuries, and there's just I'm curious to see how they overcome it in January. You know what? They're proving me wrong at the end of the day. They're winning games when they have to. They're drawing them when they have to. They're overcoming a lot of adversity and showing a lot of great character. Today, Sassuolo looked really bad for most of the match. Credit to Milan. I liked how they started the match, and they did something different. I don't like when teams pass it back and they start doing the passing back to the goalkeeper and they move up forward. I thought what Milan did on this exact play was perfect. They just went straight. All players went straight up, and it was like Sassuolo were caught off guard, did not know what was happening. It looked as if they weren't prepared for the match. In the first 5 seconds, everyone was caught off guard. Milan did one-touch passing, bang, 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 scored. And you know what? And then the second goal, it was off a counterattack. And you know what? I didn't think Tonali was good today personally. That's just me. I thought he gave up the ball too often, and his compete. Oh, Tonali got hurt today. That's who it was.
Oh, he did. I didn't see
Yes,
that.
he got subbed off at halftime. He didn't come in the second half. He was limping on the sideline. I
Oh.
don't confirm me on if he's hurt yet, but he was holding his leg and he didn't look comfortable. He still progressed. He still played the first half, but he didn't look comfortable. But Tonali does a good job staying on side and not interfering with the play, and it results in a goal. And I think that was a good play by him, not to overreact for the ball. And he I think it was Hernandez who came down the wing and he recognized that. So I thought that, I could be wrong if it was Hernandez. I don't remember who it was, but it was a good read and it was a good start build up from Brahim Diaz, who won the ball in their own end. So you know what? A lot of players are picking up the slack. They're contributing. A lot of young talent here. So the future looks good for Milan. I'll say that.
Really good. Yeah.
Well, I thought that Milan did play a simple game today. They didn't really make many mistakes. I thought down the latter part, maybe the last 10 minutes, Sassuolo came back a little too late. They looked more hungry in the match. Just their mistakes were so frequent that they were so lucky they only conceded 2 goals to Sassuolo. And we're starting to see that they are not a top 7 team. They will drop down now. You're starting to see the cracks in the wall and all these players that are I feel like they're overproduced. Like they overachieved in their season already. They've already hit their limit, where now they're coming back to life. And
they're like this year's. You remember what Cagliari did last year?
Mhm.
Like they're this year's Cagliari. Like early first month and a half of the season, Cagliari was in a Champions League spot, and this team is really going to make some noise. And then, just unfortunately for them and for Sassuolo, these clubs just don't have enough depth to maintain that sort of shape throughout the year. But I want Nick's take on Milan. Because obviously there's a lot of banter back and forth between the Inter Twitter and Milan Twitter. But are you starting to take Milan seriously as a Scudetto contender, or are you just thinking more for them like a team that could be in the top 4 but not top 2 necessarily?
Hard no.
Love it. Love it.
How many times over the last in recent memory the Flyers? Jesus. I did too many Flyers podcasts. How many times have Inter been? It was a few years ago. Inter was first place in the Christmas break, and I don't even think they finished in a Champions League spot.
Yeah, I think it happened 2 years in a row. I think it was like, or 2 out of 3 years, because it was like 2016 and 2017, I think. And in 2017, they started the year on a 16-match unbeaten streak. Yes. They had some draws in there, but yeah.
And they just came crashing down to earth because those Inter teams had no depth. I don't take Milan seriously. I don't take their fans seriously. A team that's relying on a 39-year-old to drive the bus is a bunch of frauds, if you ask me. I hope I'm pissing them all off.
That should get them riled up.
I know. When I think it's, you know what? I will say this. I'm a forward thinker. It's good for Serie A and it's good for Europe when AC Milan is good.
Yeah.
Even when Juve was in those Champions League finals, I thought, you know what? I will hate it if they win, but I'll be happy for Buffon. I digress. I think the league will eventually catch up to Milan like it has Sassuolo, like it has Spezia, like it has Napoli. I don't think they have the horses to maintain.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I want to go over a couple more topics before we wrap it up. A team that is a little bit of an enigma to me. They've looked really, really good for the better part of their last 3 games or so is Atalanta. I think there may be some shady stuff going on there. I mean, I hope that Papu Gomez gets sold this January so he can tell all and like unbury all the bodies there. But, even without Gomez, Atalanta got a huge victory 4-1 over Roma today, where it was really a second half avalanche. And the difference was Josip Ilicic. Ilicic came on in the second half and was just the breath of class that they needed. And Roma, they had the 1-0 lead to start the game. They just got steamrolled in the second half. So yeah, I guess that's another team, and I'm not even going to put them in the Scudetto conversation. But Jerry, let me start with you, because you and I have both been pretty critical of Atalanta this season. Like, what they've done for the better part of the last 3 years has been amazing. But are you starting to think now that maybe this team is going to hit, and they may already be hitting at a great run of form and compete for a Champions League spot again? Or do you think there's just going to be too much chaos here for them?
I'm actually going to look up at their stats, but in the meantime, I think it's a good half. That's what they had. They're not consistent this year. Far too often we see them look good, look bad, look good, look bad. I think last season we saw Atalanta consistently score at a rapid pace, beating teams with their offense. In the first half, they were so invisible without Papu Gomez. The midfield just didn't generate anything. Roma really dictated the play, the tempo, the pace. In the second half, I think they were at fault. They really sat back too much and allowed Atalanta to take the game to them, I felt. As well, far too many turnovers, very simple plays that should have been made by Roma. But in general, yeah, Ilicic looked like himself. Now, The problem is that we haven't seen enough of that from Ilicic for 90 minutes in a game. And maybe it was the fact that he came off the bench and was able to provide that spark, that momentum. I'm curious to see how he would do if he started more frequently. Can he play that level and allow them to win games on a consistent basis? Because I haven't seen that this year from him. I know that he's had a lot of personal issues that hasn't helped him. His form hasn't been the same, but I still think the loss of Papu Gomez is not replaced yet. He's someone that you don't replace him overnight. And I know that it was nice to see them get the 3 points today against Roma, but that midfield really, it revolves around Papu, and he's covered so many positions, and we know that already. I'm curious to see what they do in the January transfer market to replace him, because they really need somebody to come in and really fill his void. Ilicic won't be able to do that because he obviously doesn't play the same role, the same position. But I just think that this team needs to find some balance and consistency, and I think there's some holes. Their defense looks really shaky today.
Yeah.
Romero looks really bad. He was caught out of position, bad challenges, big liability in that back end. I don't like Toloi. I don't like Palomino. These guys, they're liabilities, and they're very high risks. They don't really play a good defensive game. They're always caught out of position. They turn the ball over too frequent. I just don't like them, and that this is an area that they really need to address, because it's going to hurt them in the long run.
I mean, I think for me, I don't have them finishing in a Champions League spot, but I think a big part of that is the league just looks more competitive this year. I mean, my Champions League spots, and I know I've changed this a couple of times since the season started, but I think I reserve the right to change my opinion based on the way the match days go. I like, obviously, Inter, Juventus. I still think Napoli is going to finish in a Champions League place, and then probably Milan, although I'm certainly not going to count Lazio out. I'm not even going to count Roma out, because some weeks they just look so dangerous. It's
True.
a very, very Jekyll and Hyde team. I guess Atalanta you put in that same category, another Jekyll and Hyde team. I think Sassuolo is going to drop way below the top four. Verona just doesn't have nearly enough firepower. So, I think there's really like 6 teams in the mix for those 4 Champions League spots. But Nick, to close out the Atalanta point, do you think Atalanta, are they going to be really competing for a Champions League spot? Do you think they're hitting form, or do you think the wheels are going to come off, which it hasn't come off for the last couple of years, to be fair?
It depends. What cycle of steroids are they on right now?
Yes. I wish they could get caught for that, if it really is happening.
You think that?
That's a big rumor.
You see some of these before and after pictures of these dudes?
No, I never look into this stuff like that, man. Honestly, I watch the game. I try to break down what they're doing, the plays, like the passing, how they advance, and who does what. Like that, I try to actually grasp the game. I find that so much goes on, I can't even pick up half the stuff, and that's why I like to listen to people and read what they say. But yeah, stuff like that, man, I don't realize that. I would love to see pictures because that wouldn't, you know what?
Look it up.
Yeah,
that wouldn't shock me. I'm surprised if that's the case, how they haven't been caught yet, if it's true.
But who knows? Maybe the Papu Gomez versus Gasparini.
We'll reveal that.
Maybe that'll have a negative ripple effect in the locker room. Who knows? Was Duvan Zapata a one-year wonder like Piatek was? Because Piatek was all the rage. What was the other kid? Schick? He was all the rage.
Patrick Schick. Yeah.
Schick's playing good in Germany right now.
Yeah, but he went to Rome and laid an egg. And then
he was Roma set their transfer record to bring him in, and he was a massive bust.
Yeah, and then Piatek was maybe an even bigger bust for Milan, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't see them.
He's that guy.
I don't see them threatening the top four. They'll probably be the
fucking stupid.
Pum.
By the way, that last year that was great.
And I'm really glad that Nick brought up Zapata, because I can remember 2 summers ago there were so many debates among Interisti who were saying, no, do not buy Romelu Lukaku because he's overpriced. And they were listening to all of the Manchester United fans saying, this guy's first touch is shit, and he's wearing Timberlands, and he's fat. And I can remember a lot of Interisti saying, no, do not spend, they ended up spending less than this, but the rumor was 90 million was what Manchester United wants. Like, do not spend 90 million on Lukaku. You need to get Duvan Zapata from Atalanta. You can get him for like 45, 50 million. Like, a lot of Interisti really wanted Duvan Zapata. And can you imagine if they had bought Zapata instead of Romelu Lukaku, where the club might be right now? So huge bullet was dodged there.
Premier League fans might be the most toxic fans in Europe.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I mean, they make us Serie A fans look tame, and I have meltdowns on a weekly basis about it. But Manchester United, they're like the Dallas Cowboys of Europe. They once used to dominate, and now and just like their fans, they're annoying and stupid and talk a lot of shit.
Jerry's a Cowboy fan.
You idiot! What are you in? You said you're in Canada?
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you like Dallas?
I've grown up liking them since the 90s, man. I don't know.
They say that the Dallas Cowboys, they're Canada's team.
I don't know. I just like them. I love Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman. My buddy was a Dallas Cowboy fan, so he gave me my buddy. Actually, our good friend Rob Pizzola, he's a Dallas Cowboy fan, so it kind of like grew on me, and then I just chose Dallas. I don't know. Actually, it's a good point, man. I'm also an Oiler fan. I'm not even a Leaf fan. I'm from Toronto.
Oh, fuck the Leafs. Good for you.
Yeah, good for you, Jerry.
I can't stand them.
Their fans are awful too.
On this note, they are. So Jerry, I need Lazio to do us all a really, really big favor midweek, because Lazio play Milan. Okay. Jerry, what is your level of confidence? Lazio looked really good against Napoli. Can they keep that form? Can they at least give, because obviously Inter have what could be a very painfully difficult match against Verona midweek, but if Inter can win midweek and if Lazio can take care of Milan, you can really do us a solid. Do you think Lazio can get this win?
I do plan. So for anything, I do plan on trying to write a piece of what to look out for with the match between Lazio and Milan. But aside from that, we'll say first, Lazio finally got their first win at the San Siro against Milan after 30 years last year. So, yes, since I believe 1989, I want to say.
Really?
Yeah, 1989, I want to say.
Oh,
and
wow.
that long, and I think that's a big confidence booster going into this match, because that barrier is cracked, and they now know that they can win at the San Siro. So that's huge. I think a lot of people are probably not looking into this. Secondly, coming off a win against Napoli will really it's good and bad. It's good because you got the confidence. I just don't want them being overly confident going into their Milan match now and thinking that this will be a walk in the park. They need to be prepared like they were today, and like today didn't exist, and you go straight into the match and you just go from it. Milan has a lot of injuries, and I think the absence of Frank Kessie is huge. And with Tonali maybe missing the game, we'll just say question mark as well. That midfield is really, really thin. And you got, I believe you have Krunic and two other schmucks playing in the midfield. So I don't know who their midfield is going to be Wednesday. There's just a lot of ifs and buts with Milan, but you got to give Pioli a lot of credit because he's figured a way out to get these guys prepared and ready. It doesn't matter that Kessie's out. There's always somebody that has stepped up for Milan and takes their opportunity and make a name for themselves. Like Kalulu. Kalulu came in as the right back for the last two games. I forgot who got hurt.
It was Gabbia.
Gabbia gets hurt. Kalulu comes in, hasn't ever played in Serie A, and this guy looks like a gem in the last two games. He was one of my most impressive players today for them, who really played good in defense. You got to give credit to Milan. They're figuring ways. They remind me of Lazio last year, prior to the COVID stoppage, where Lazio were finding ways to win. And I know not like how Milan's doing on both counts of leagues, but they had players step up on a consistent basis, and this is what Milan's doing. They have players stepping up, and I think that Lazio can pull off the win, but it's a big if. I'm gonna go with Milan 2-1 because everyone knows the type of person, and I can't say the word because it wouldn't work, but Alex can go the distance. I can't bet for my team.
I'll say it. You're a mush.
Yes. Yeah,
I'm a mush too.
I can't bet my today.
Well, Jerry, Twitter, you know what? Jerry, if I bet on Milan, you're basically guaranteed a win. You realize?
I wrote today on Twitter that Milan was going to lose. Was going to big win for Milan today. I feel a big performance. Do you think that worked? It went the other way, made me look good on Twitter. But then I went with Lazio, feeling bad about today's game. That actually worked finally. But you know what? Lazio just has to go in with the right mindset. Luis Alberto scoring today was huge going into their game. Immobile is on fire. There's a lot of things here that work in their favor. I wonder if Correa will be ready for Wednesday because he missed the game today with a muscle injury. I doubt that Cherby will be ready, but you know what? There's a lot of talent in this team that I've been saying that they have a lot of depth that they can step up against Milan on Wednesday. So it should be an entertaining game, though.
Well, good luck, and we'll wrap up the episode on that note. Huge thanks to Nick Costa for joining us. You can follow him.
Since you guys together,
okay, go ahead.
Inter fans, how the fuck is Roma versus Inter 6:30 game? Like, who makes these schedules?
Ooh, when is that? That's a 6:30 a.m. game?
Yes, it's in January. It's in January, but still, I was just looking at the schedule. Like, who makes this schedule? I need to know, man, because like
that's a big game.
January 10th, Rome Inter 6:30.
Yeah, see, 6:30, and like 12 o'clock.
That's a big game too for 6:30. Yeah, I can understand Inter Cagliari being 6:30, but Roma Inter is 6:30,
and 2:45 is Juventus Sassuolo because anybody gives a shit about that game.
Oh fuck!
Oh my god!
No, actually, the 12 o'clock game is the worst game. Fiorentina versus Cagliari. Oh gosh,
the toilet bowl.
The toilet bowl is right, man. I just don't know who makes the schedule. At least 9 o'clock, if anything. Like, who's gonna wake up at 6:30 to watch this game? I know that for us,
I will.
No, I won't.
I know in Europe it's different because it's 12 o'clock, 12:30. So for them, it's like, oh, they're ready to go.
I mean, that still sucks, though. I mean, 12. A lot of people do not like really want to watch the lunchtime games. They don't like that in Europe either, and that's not as bad as 6:30 a.m. But a huge thanks to Nick Costa for joining us, and you can hear him on the Brotherly Puck podcast. Where anything else you want to promote, Nick, on Twitter at Forza Inter 215? Anything else you want to throw out there?
I appreciate that. And again, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. I hope I can do this again. And if you like hockey and you like the Flyers, yeah, it's at Brotherly Puck. It's run by my buddy Dan. We usually talk mostly Flyers. We dunk on the Leafs every now and again. But yeah, if you feel like hockey, Brotherly Puck.
Good stuff. And make sure you follow our show on Twitter at CalcioConPod. That's at CalcioConPod. And if you're listening just to the audio of this, you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're just watching this on YouTube, you want to subscribe to the podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your pods. Just search Calcio Connection, hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating and a 5-star review if you want. You can follow Jerry at jmancini8. You can follow me at Alex Donno, spelled Donno, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Huge thanks again to Nick and to everyone listening. We'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.